Hello and welcome to another episode of ForeverVerse. Why are you seeing my face at the beginning of this broadcast again? Quit your mouth, Amy Garbage Wrist Vorpal. We'll get to you in a second. It begins. Why? Why? Because Amy and Jason have...
Don't you dare insult my wrist.
No, your wrists are... Your wrists are powerful and manly. Amy Garbage Wrist Vorpal has a water bottle to do her job for her.
All the time. Just sometimes.
Guys, we have a pre-recorded song because it sounds lovely and you should take a look at it. It's going to be played for you right now. What's the song called?
I don't know.
All right, we'll find out.
When they're playing.
It's either Shipwrecked or Anthem of Adventure.
That's
Anthem of Adventure, I think.
Anthem of Adventure. We'll have a second, take a look at it, and we'll see you in a moment. Enjoy.
Yeah, look at that.
Ooh, look.
I've been safe, sitting by my fire. Now it's time to go. Got a burning desire. The open air, the thrill of the fight. I'm waiting at that door. It's time to face the night.
The excitement of the wild calls my name, and I have to play its game.
Adventures out there, and it's waiting for us. So come follow me if you're brave enough. So pack your bags, you walk in safe. We might meet our end, but death just makes me laugh. Grab a shield, don't forget that sword. There's a dungeon on my map that needs to be explored.
You want riches, I want songs that sing my name. So get up and play this game.
Adventures out there, and it's waiting for us. Come follow me if you're brave enough. Those monsters won't fight themselves.
Don't you want to meet the elves? Come follow me. The horizon marks the edge of what we see. But beyond that lies the key.
Adventures out there, and it's waiting for us. Come follow me if you're brave enough. Adventures out there, and it's waiting for us. Come follow me if you're brave enough. Come follow me.
Welcome back, jumpers. As you can see, we've got a host load of puppets that are currently here as we're still in Puppetland. That was, of course, a lovely rendition by Jason and Amy. What was the song again?
Anthem of Adventure.
Anthem of Adventure. Done
We
by...
wrote that when you were gone.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because we didn't have anything specific to write about, so we just thought we would write about adventure.
That's awesome.
It's a good song. It's one of my favorites.
I wish I got a
say that
chance
every
to-
week, but...
I wish I got a chance to hear it. We didn't get a chance to play it in here.
Adventure!
We have lost Mr. Damien this week, so crawl as you can. We'll be crawling back into the hole of which he came. But we have gained a new puppet, the dancer. Hi, Erica. Hi.
Wow.
You got so good with that thing.
Oh, shucks.
Oh, she's cool.
She's beautiful. So that's our fourth puppet type. We have the Marionette with us today. So
What's her name?
She's so good. She's well, what is her name, Erica?
Dancer.
Dancer.
Because she is a dancer.
She's tiny too.
Yeah. And the perfect size to be compared with all the other hand puppets. And the only one with legs, if I may be so bold.
Oh, yeah.
She won't hold it against you guys too much.
That's right, I ain't got no legs, Ivan. I ain't got no legs.
Sorry, Benji.
Yeah,
But you got some great wiggly arms.
I got wiggly
For the
arms.
record, I know that your your on your sheet it says that the puppets can't use their arms or in a limited
Yeah.
fashion. But the way that your puppet's built, because of what you can and cannot do, which
That's
is
right.
based on your sheet, I say that you can't articulate, but you can lift.
Yeah, I lift, bro.
You lift.
He could also
Serious.
be a propeller. like his arms would go around.
Around and around and around.
I don't want to break them, but maybe.
Well, thank you so much for coming back for another episode of ForeverVerse. Last week, we almost had a split episode. We were ending The Witch is Dead and bleeding into what is now called Puppetland after a brief break. So theoretically, this is our first episode foray into Puppetland. Now, Puppetland...
And a song's coming, by the way. We started on.
Oh, cool. This system is done by John Scott Tynes through Arc Dream Publishing. It is definitely a unique game in that it's mostly a storytelling game. There is no dice rolls involved at all. We literally do not have dice. So the only way that adventure is communicated is actually in the same way that you tell a story through, well, not song and verse, through third person present tense. So think of us running the story for you like reading a children's book, which is appropriate, even though it's a dark children's book. Because Puppetland is not very, well...
You made me read that whole beginning part. That's so upsetting, Ivan.
Yes.
Well-
It's really upsetting.
Read.
Thank you for the subscription. Why, Ivan? Why?
Well,
Because-
he read it all to us live, so we were all
Yeah.
experiencing the horror together.
Yeah.
Why?
You should know what you're getting into when coming into Puppetland. So, no!
Damn it, Ivan.
Well, then I think with that, we should just jump right into our little adventure. Is there any questions that you guys had before hopping in?
Fill us in on the story thus far.
All right, thank you, Benji. The story thus far includes our fine puppets leading into the town of Respite, which sits on the lake of milk and cookies. Currently, they've woken up to Farmer Red Hat, Nestor Horse, Henrietta Penny, all in quite a state of disarray and trouble. They have, in fact, lost their eye, that button that represents their eye, after being stolen by one of Punch's boys. That one being Spite. I believe it was Spite. Checking my notes here.
Yes, Spite is the evil puppet who took the button.
Yes, the evil flesh puppet who stole the button eyes from our three very poor innocent puppets. And these four, our friend puppets, are currently out to seek the Nutcracker camp, which the location was divulged by Judy herself.
Guys, I want to have a running count of how many times we say flesh puppet this episode.
Okay,
And
well,
I want it
one.
to be a lot.
We'll see how we get into it. And for the record,
Got that, Denoba?
Everybody drink.
drink for the flesh puppet. Bennies are going to be a little unique this system, I should probably say, since there isn't any die rolls involved and there's very little chance. If you would like, well, it's not even that. Like, if you would like something in this game to happen, you speak it and you say it. The only ways that things don't happen is the GM has a good story counterpart in order to present against it. Otherwise, we're basically passing the storytelling ball from person to person to person as we relay this out. Now, there's a good chance that you could still get hurt, and that can be through choice or through me determining that you need to scratch off one of the little puzzle pieces that's on your character sheet. But as we say, these bennies are mostly just going to be, well, the only thing I can think of is forcing my hand, but I don't think there's even a reason to need to force my hand, because you guys can speak as you say. I'm looking forward to it.
That sounds like a challenge, Ivan.
All right, well, challenge presented.
Great, accepted. Done.
All right, well, our puppet friends wake up to the sounds of singing birds as the duskless, sunless sky shines its abysmal light on the city of Respite. Everyone is there in the main room. Farmer Red Hat, Nestor Horse, Henrietta Penny, and Foppity Fredsworth. Now, poor Red Hat, Nestor, and Henrietta, they're currently outside. They seem to be walking in circles trying to find each other. The puppet friends were told by Judy that the Nutcracker camp is not far from the city of Respite. And thank goodness the Nutcrackers haven't found Respite yet, because Punch would love to know where Judy and the rest of the rogue puppets of Puppetland are hiding. What would you like to do, friend puppets?
So wait, so we're in a room, but they're outside?
You're in the room and they're currently outside. Well, yes.
Like this is a mess hall type room?
Well, yes, Foppity Bows. This is little bit of an open, abysmal little light. In fact, you would say that it's your little common room in which all of the puppets' beds are currently in. That being said, if there is anything you would like to do, or if anything the puppets would like to do in the town of Respite before heading off to the Grand Nutcracker camp, that would be a good time to do it.
Well, Beatrix von Fluffybows heads straight on over to the popcorn silo and packs everyone up a nice little popcorn treat. And she sticks them all together with some sticky grass sugar that she found right outside of the popcorn silo.
That sounds like a great idea, Fluffity Bows. In fact, Nestor Hayseed would trot on over with you, and you could saddle up his sweet little bags just like it was nothing else. And you've got and now the puppet friends all have 2 saddlebags full of delicious caramel-covered popcorn.
Ooh, well, if that was that easy, then some of the ones in a special bag, she put stones in them to maybe use as weapons later.
Okay, Fluffity Bows looks around but has a hard time finding stones. There seems to be candies everywhere that are around and about, but who would want to throw candies, even at a Nutcracker?
What about very hard candies?
That's really interesting, Dr. Faust, because as you look around, you see that a lot of these candies, some of them are quite hard, like Jawbreakers.
The hardest candies and put them in your bag to use as weapons later.
I love it. She said, and she definitely does that.
Of course, a sharp weapon might be more useful than a bludgeoning weapon, but I can make use of either one. Believe me. I'll get you your legs yet.
They both laugh sinisterly as they joke about each other's legsless legs. At this point,
laughs joyously, to be clear.
Joyously.
She has no idea of the sinister intent in Dr. Faust's heart.
Joyfully or joylessly?
Oh, absolutely full of joy. She's the best hugger in all of Puppetland.
Now, the puppets find something very interesting as they're walking about going through their normal duties. Crawl As You Can seems to not be around. In fact, his bed is empty, and instead there seems to be a purple dancer that seems to be stringing up as a marionette from the room.
A new puppet from the creator! My goodness, honey, get on over here! And she goes over there and gives her a hug. Ooh, hug.
Hello.
Oh, hello.
I'm Dancer Lightfoot.
Dancer Lightfoot says as she strums around throughout the room, showing off her wonderful moves as each one of her strings lifts up her various appendages.
Benji Grimm wonders out loud to himself, if this new puppet friend Dancer was ever a part of the circus like Benji was. Dancer, were you ever a part of the circus like I was? I'm Benji, by the way.
Why, hello, Benji. No, I've never been to the circus. I mostly toured with dance companies.
Toured? You're a real dancer?
Yes. As a young child, I had prodigious strength and grace. My parents didn't know quite where to put it. I wanted it to be put into what I assume you do, and into lifting, but they thought it was more proper for a young lady to take ballet, she says.
Dancer Lightfoot has actually been across various parts of Puppetland and has seen many different lands and has even performed for Punch himself at one point, even though he wasn't watching.
Oh my.
So where have you been around Puppetland, Dancer?
And how did you survive a performance in front of Punch?
Wait, what? You performed in front of Punch?
Yes, Yes, it's true. I've been all over this wide, beautiful land of Puppetland, and it makes my heart hurt to think of what he's done to it. He was there, and of course, he's not one to appreciate the arts.
No, he's not.
I can't stand it when people come to performances and fall asleep in the back, but perhaps it was better for me that way.
And oh, Punch, how loudly he snored during Dancer Lightfoot's performance. You could hear Punch's snoring over the music, people said.
It's just so uncouth and rude and vulgar.
There is a medical procedure I can perform that will help you snoring.
Well, I'm sure if Dr. Faust ever had an opportunity to get that close to Punch, there would be a great opportunity to cut out his voice box and use it for something other than talking.
I wholeheartedly agree. Voice in the sky.
Now, at this point, poor Red Hat Nestor and Henrietta, they've still been wandering in circles outside. They've had an opportunity to be able to join the friend puppets in their little adventure out, but no matter what, they can see the greasy-haired hand puppet of Foppity Fredsworth looming like the creep that he is at one of the sides of the gingerbread houses close to the puppets.
Oh, look, that's Foppity Fredsworth. If I remember correctly, he's in love with Miss Henrietta Penny. And he is not coy about it.
That would be absolutely... this is challenging for me, too. That would be absolutely correct, Miss Fluffly Bows. Foppity would say as he's coming from the side, leaning over to Fluffly Bows as well. I have been looking after Henrietta's hand my entire life, and I will follow her, eyeless or not, to the ends of the earth. And damn Farmer Red Hat for trying to take her away from me.
Ew, what a gushy love triangle.
Ah, yes. If it was a triangle, I would prefer it to be a line.
Oh, poor Floppity Bows. It's okay.
So the joyful puppet friends continue to sit in their little open area, making a decision of whether or not they should actually bring these 4 renegades along them to the Nutcracker camp, or if it would just be better for them to go on their own.
Well, you guys, I really think we should bring Nestor Horse, Beatrix von Fluffly Bows tells the entire group, because he's carrying our popcorn snacks and popcorn hard candy weapons.
You make a great point.
Yes, provisions do seem to be important, says Dancer.
Always good for nutrition. Yes, let us go.
Also,
What about our other puppet
the
friends?
other puppet friends, I think we should let them choose for themselves.
Thanks for asking me, Nestor Horse says as he
Oh.
watches all the puppets talk together, his tiny little strings flopping around as the saddlebags dangle from the side of his haunches.
Ah, jeez. Nestor, we didn't mean no harm.
Yeah, well,
Honest.
I'm used to it. Don't worry about that, Nestor Head says as he hangs his head lowly to the ground and kicks one of his front feet into the dirt.
We need you, though. That's the point of this whole thing, is that we can't do this without you. No offense, but we can do it without the other three.
Nestor lifts his head up in a moment with his sparkly single eye peering straight at Flufflybows. You do need me?
Absolutely.
Oh, gosh, no one's ever needed me for anything other than hauling stuff around.
Oh, well, we need you for moral support and fighting skills and strength. Lots of that.
Yeah, that makes sense, I guess, Nestor Horse says as he starts to move his shuffling little body along, starting his trail-worn road.
But also for hauling stuff. Benji reminds Nesta. Don't forget that. Also mainly hauling our stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense, Nestor says as he takes a single popcorn out from the side of one of his saddlebags. Well, let's get on with it then, as he continues to trollop down the road. Now, as the puppets continue to move...
Wait, are the other three coming?
Neither three. That's a really great question, Flufflybows.
Oh.
Unfortunately, as you continue to move along, with Nestor, of course, constantly veering to the right, it just takes a few small adjustments to move him along in the right way. The rest of Farmer Red Hat and Henrietta Penny continue to seem to wander around aimlessly in circles in the midst of the town square, with Foppity Fredsworth staring intently at Henrietta the entire time.
So they decided not to go.
Those puppets in particular would probably have a difficult time. Well, they wouldn't. They'd actually have a great time because it's always good to be with puppets. But no one asked, so they're not coming.
Do y'all think we should ask them before we just head on out? I mean, it is their eyes that we're going back to get.
Sure.
Hey, guys! Beatrix on Flufflybows calls. We're about to leave. We're about to go get your buttons back, but we wanted to put it to you to see if you wanted to come along with us.
Farmer Red Hat, as he continues to move around in his circles, looks up towards Flufflybows and raises it and goes, "All right, good luck. Oh, I don't want to put my Henrietta in danger ever, so unless she's going, I'm going to stay right here." Now, Henrietta looks towards Beatrix von Flufflybows and the rest of the puppets ready to move out along the trail and takes a moment and thinks about it intently. Well, I do want to make sure we get my eyes right, and I sure would like to see Spite suffer for him taking his eyes from me in the first place. But you know what? That wouldn't be very kindly of me, and what if I miss the dance?
Oh, that's a good point.
No, I don't want to miss...
dance?
Oh, Dancer, you've been asleep, but yes, there's a big festival dance. It's a celebration of the divorce of Judy from Punch.
Yes, Henrietta turns towards Dancer and goes, "Oh, it's going to be so much fun. And I was hoping to take my friend Farmer Red Hat here, but as you can see," they clonk into each other in that approximate moment. Farmer Red Hat catching the tiny finger puppet of Henrietta. "We're not very coordinated without both of our eyes."
We must help these two lovers get their eyes back so that they may dance.
Yes, and then we also must find dance partners. Let's not forget that.
Well, you just have a good luck there then, and I'll tell you, if you need any help, well, good luck.
Oh, come on.
Don't let those nutcrackers get you and crunch your tiny little wood bones, because that would be a real shame.
Von Flufflybows looks right into Farmer Red Hat's eyes and said, "You guys have encountered him once before. Thank you. Is there anything you can tell us about him? The way they fight, the way that they move, anything at all to give us a little bit of fighting strategy?"
Well, nutcrackers are very, very ruthless, Farmer Red Hat says as he addresses all of the loyal puppets around. They are ruthless, and they're brutal, and they're cruel. They're just as easily rip out a puppet stuffing as they would to crunch any wood bows or anything that a puppet might have to move around. If there's one thing a nutcracker likes to do, it likes to crunch and crack and break and stomp. We haven't seen them at all until Punch came around, and then his entire nutcracker army came out at that one particular time. Farmer Red Hat seems to look up into the sky back when the sun was shining.
Aw.
There used to be no Nutcrackers, as he addresses the main crowd again. So all I can tell you is that best advice I can give you about taking down a Nutcracker is don't go after one.
Yeah.
That's great advice, says Benji. Then Benji interjects his own thought by saying, you know, I would love to use a Benny to force Farmer Red Hat to come with us because he's an expert in Nutcrackers, and rather than telling us how to take them down, Benji figures it would be nice to have him around to help us take them down.
Right, take a Benny, and then do you want to tell me in the storyline terms how you convinced Farmer Red Hat to do this?
Certainly. Benji reminds Farmer Red Hat that one surefire way to win the heart of a lovely puppet is to be brave, like the Maker would be before he got his brains bashed in by Punch or whatever it was that happened.
Jeez.
So then Benji says to Farmer Red Hat, Farmer Red Hat, I don't think I've ever met a more brave and smart puppet than you, and I would be remiss if I did not let you know that your services would be very appreciated on our little adventure. Plus, you might be able to help us win back the eyes of your lady love.
Farmer Red
Henrietta.
Hat turns to Benji and with a gleam in his eye, singular eye, looks at him and goes, I've never heard a more inspirational speech in my life. You know, I've always wanted to be a hero, but I was built a farmer. But as they say, the Maker provides, and this may just be my opportunity in order to be the hero Henrietta always wanted me to be, as he puts his arm around little tiny finger puppet Henrietta. As she looks up and stares him into their useless blank eye slots, they stare at each other before Henrietta turns back, or before Farmer Red Hat turns back to Benji and goes, all right, lead on, finger puppet. Let's do this.
Before they go, Beatrix Von Fluffleybows heads on over to Foppity Fred and whispers in Fred's ear, Foppity, now you better listen to me. Just because you have some alone time with Henrietta doesn't mean that you should force her hand to be with you. A woman's choice is her own, just as her heart is. So make sure that you give Henrietta the respect of her choice.
Foppity Fredsworth says as he looks into Flufflybow's eyes, I will be the consummate puppet. And I promise you under no circumstances would I ever do something against poor Henrietta Penny's will.
Beatrix Von Fluffleybows trusts him implicitly.
That is great because as they are walking away, you can't see, but as Flufflybow's is walking away, she doesn't see as Foppity Fredsworth brings both of his puppet hands together and rubs them ever so slightly together.
Yay, I did a good deed. I warned everybody about love.
All right. As the loyal puppets continue to move down the land.
Yes, as we're walking,
Yes.
I want to ask, but Beatrix wants to ask Farmer Fred Head.
Farmer Fred Hat.
Whoopsie!
Beatrix.
Flufflybow's has had a little bit too much sugar grass.
Sugar
Always
grass.
drinking that sugar grass, Beatrix.
Farmer Fred Head. What? Farmer
Again, who?
Farmer Red Hat. Farmer Red Hat. How did the Nutcracker remove your eye from your eye hole? Was it through his big bite, or did he stomp it off, or what were the logistics of that?
Oh, it was a terrible thing, Flufflybow's, Red Hat says, as he takes a moment to try to turn his head enough so that he can get his one eye on Flufflybow's. It was terrible. I was just driving Nestor here right through the trade routes when they jumped us. And he pinned me down with one of his arms, and the other Nutcracker came in and ripped it right out of my head. You can see the little dangly strings right here.
With his arm or with his mouth?
With his arms. It was terrible.
I feel like that's good information to have. I'm sorry it was so terrible, and I'm sorry you had to relive that just to
Yeah,
answer my question.
that was a very terrifying moment that I had to go through again. But hey, at least I still have my other eye out of the experience.
At least there's that. That's very valuable to know. If we rip their arms off, they'll have very little to rip things from us off of. You know what I mean? I'm sorry.
I do know what you mean. It makes perfect sense to me. Rip their arms off, and we're free and clear.
Yes, exactly.
Once we see those nutcrackers, I tell you, puppet friends, it's gonna be clobbering time.
We also could start a fire and set them on fire.
What?
Now-
Asks Benji. Huh? A fire? Why?
Beatrix Fluffly Bows, upon mentioning the idea of fire, turns the attention of both Nestor and Farmer Redhead and goes, "Fire? We haven't ever seen fire here. I don't think there's ever been a fire in Puppetland, while the whole place would just go up like one big tinderbox," he says as he pats the felt-covered floor of Puppetland.
Oh, well, we're still workshopping it, so, we'll get back to you when we have a set plan then.
Fluffy Bows winks at Dancer. Good cover.
Yes, certainly fire would be a fantastic way to destroy all of existence. And hopefully it doesn't come to that, says Benji, as he's walking along, but also he's very depressed because he looks like a monster and he's very sad about his life.
Well, I hope that it doesn't come to that either, Farmer Fred Hat says, and Nestor turns to Benji and goes, "Hey, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm a monster too. I'm a monster of burden. I'm a beast of burden. That makes me a monster of burden. You know what? Would you walk with me, friend?"
I certainly would, Nestor, because you're my new best friend.
Oh, well, I don't think I've ever had a best friend before.
Me neither.
What does a best friend do?
I don't know, just hang out with each other?
Well, let's hang out then. As Nestor and Benji walk side by side in their depressed little duet of sadness, both of the loyal puppets continue to walk along the roadside as they continue to move forward towards the Nutcracker camp.
Benji asks Nestor, "Nestor, what's your favorite thing about being depressed?" My favorite thing about being depressed is that sometimes I think about how someday I will cease to exist and that nothing really matters anymore and that it doesn't even, nothing counts.
That's interesting, Benji, Nestor says as he turned towards Farmer Red Hat and Fluffly Bows and Dancer. My favorite thing about being depressed is that nobody expects anything of you except for hauling stuff.
That's true. Nobody expects anything out of me either. I'm just a short, fast, little finger puppet. And I ain't got legs, and my arms don't work so good. But
At least you're fast.
at least I'm fast.
And
Hey,
you got some
guys.
burly arms there, Benji.
True.
Yes, Fluffly.
You're having quite a conversation there. I just thought I'd butt in and see if you needed to talk to somebody. More
Nope, we're fine,
experience
Beatrix.
about this.
We're fine.
Beatrix, everything is fine, Nestor says as he lifts one of his horse arms up and puts it around Benji's shoulder like that. You can find friends, not just in happiness, but you can bomb through sadness.
It just sounds like a dangerous path to go down, is all I'm saying.
What path is that?
Apparently, like you can, depression can lead to anxiety. It can lead to some different disorders that you might.
Sure, you should definitely see somebody about that. I bet they'd even agree to joint friend sessions.
Joint friend sessions?
Huh.
I've never heard of joint friend sessions, Nestor
You
Hayseeds.
don't have to live happily thinking that the minute you're born is when you start dying and find comfort in that.
Wow.
There are other ways to live that.
So you two are saying that we should repress all of our sadness and bury it deep, deep down into our stomach and never talk about it ever again.
Well,
That sounds great, you two. How's that working out for you?
No, not that. I just think that yes, you should find someone to talk to, but maybe not someone who is experiencing exactly the same.
Well, we're talking about the same thing, Benji and I.
So you're saying to go look for somebody who has no frame of reference for what you're going through and then expect them to understand you.
Well, I just heard. Yes, there are professionals out there who do understand.
Suddenly, out of nowhere, you hear this loud cracking of felt-covered trees is pushed down as a tall, big hatted Nutcracker steps out through the midst of the forest with his big jaw coming down and goes, ha 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 ha, more puppets for Smites, as he walks with his 2 legs up.
It's Smite? That's Smite right there?
No, it's a Nutcracker.
Oh.
He said 2 more puppets for Smite.
Oh.
Yes.
Benji Grimm is quaking in fear as he is too afraid to even move. But then he thinks, wait, where's Dr. Faust? Where'd he go? Oh, jeez. Oh, brother. Oh, jeez.
Oh, jeez, oh, brother.
Oh, jeez.
Looks like Faust took off for a moment, maybe running in the midst of nowhere, disappearing into the midst of the light.
Oh, there you are. Dr.
Here
Faust.
I am. I am Dr. Faust. I'm ready to have surgery on this weird wooden vertical up and down puppet.
And vertical he is, and up and down he is. You watch as his jaw continues to lift up and down as he grabs one of the, as he reaches for one of the puppets that is closest to him, which at this point would be Farmer Red Hat.
I think not. And Dancer flies into the air and grabs onto his arm.
As Dancer Lightfoot lifts herself up in the air, she grabs upon one of the Nutcracker's arms, and the Nutcracker spins it around as much as he can with a single Dancer holding on to it. But it seems the Nutcracker seems still intent on reaching towards Farmer Red Hat with his other hand.
Well then, Beatrix von Fluffy Bows, with the skill of having the best hugs in all of Puppetland, hugs that arm tightly. Bear hugs that arm.
Fluffy Bows moves in for the hug as she comes in and grabs a hold of the other Nutcracker's hand.
You're mine!
As she bear hugs one of the arms around, the Nutcracker leans in, both of his arms tight.
Snuggle him hard, Beatrix! Dancer clambers up to where the joint is for the ball and socket joint of his arm and starts tugging.
Dancer tugs and tugs, but oh, how well Nutcrackers are built. In fact, you would say that it would take more than one puppet to tug on an arm to remove it off a Nutcracker.
Benji! Dancer cries. You know how you're always so depressed about being stocky and large and lumpy?
Maybe now's not the time for that conversation, Dancer, says Benji.
Oh, I'm terribly sorry. I'm very forgetful of that. Well, now's the time for you to use all of that to your advantage. Come help me with your arms!
Benji remembers that he's short and fast and slender and starts running circles around the Nutcracker to try to get his attention and distract him. Oh, this is all I can do.
And oh, what a tiny, bright, fast little thing Benji is. As the finger puppet runs circles and circles and circles around him, you can see that the Nutcracker's head is spinning and spinning and spinning. And oh, what a popping sound did it make as the Nutcracker's head pops off from being twisted over and over and over again.
Yeah, screw you, buddy, or more like unscrew you.
Well done! And good pun, Benji!
The Nutcracker, headless, is still seeming to clomp its jaw down over and over again as it continues to stare at you with its tiny little painted eyes.
Dr. Faust, kill him for real!
As the Nutcracker's body wanders around like Frankenstein's monster, attempting to throw off both of the puppets that are on its arms presently.
The doctor reaches in and grabs the arm that the dancer is grabbing and pulls with all of his surgeon strength.
Now, Dr. Faust and Dancer, both being puppets with very strong arms, manage to get enough of a leverage to find yet another satisfying as the arm of the Nutcracker flies off and a small ball joint, metal glistening in the afternoon non-light of Puppetland, streams down onto it. You watch as the Nutcracker lifts his other arm up in rage and pain, as he continues to flail around and stumbles, falling and rolling in the felt floor of Puppetland.
Beatrix von Fluffalybos is still attached to that arm, and she does not let go. She holds on tight to as he falls, and she's so soft that the soft ground and the hard Nutcracker doesn't bother her, but she is holding on tight to that puppet.
And oh, does Fluffalybos' nice soft body cushion the fall that would otherwise break the Nutcracker's wooden body. Now, he watches as his legs flip up and up and up again in the bipedal motion, as he now doesn't have the leverage to push himself up yet again. And slowly, a few moments pass, then another few moments. And finally, the puppets all watch as the Nutcracker's body slowly becomes still.
Ooh, I think we did it, everyone! Congratulations on our first big kill!
Yes. Dr. Faust examines the body, wondering what pieces he can use to fashion for other inventions.
Now, Faust looks down at the body with quite a surgeon's eye, reminding himself that at one point, Punch tried to do this with other puppets as well, too, and yet couldn't find the maker's soul in order to bring life back to a puppet that was already asleep. But still, there's lots of wood in that Nutcracker.
Does the Nutcracker... I wonder if the Nutcracker is wearing a satchel or something that might have button eyes in it.
Well,
I bet as a Nutcracker he would have a sword.
Ooh.
Thank you.
that's very interesting, Dancer, because as matters would have it, there is definitely a large bludgeoning kludgeon, what the Punch likes to call the kludge budge, that's dangling from one of the Nutcracker's waistcoats. Unfortunately, as Beatrix von Fluffalybos investigates the rest of the Nutcracker's body, she can find nor height nor hair of Farmer Red Hat, Henrietta Penny's, or Nestor Hayseed's eyes anywhere.
Oh, drat!
Dancer picks up the kludge budge with both hands, holds it up to the light. Yes, this feels right. Yes.
It's very interesting seeing a kludge budge in the hands of such a finely tuned dancer's hands. In fact, her small spindly arms meant for graceful ease and posturous posing seems to hold the kludge budge in a very awkward way.
Oh. You remind me of someone Von Fluffalybos thinks and remembers. Someone bad.
And that moment, Fluffalybos has a moment. And at that moment, Fluffalybos has a moment where she thinks beyond Fluffalybos and dives back into another person, a person who she knows is inside of Fluffalybos, but maybe isn't in this place. In fact, the voice that's speaking this story to the fond puppets seems to be more confused about the reality of this than the puppets do themselves. But the puppets know what's going on.
Yes. I am not Beatrix von Fluffalybos, not really.
You watch as Nestor Hayseed and all of the Farmer Red Hats and Henrietta Penny's turn around and goes, "You're not Fluffalybos?" And she looks around, "Well, you have some Fluffalybos, though."
Yes. Don't be too confused by this. I'm just there's so much more than meets the eye to me.
Wait,
Do you
what?
transform in some way?
Wait, huh?
You hear the voice from above who is speaking the story out to the puppets as well goes, "What? Huh? What? This is..." Let's have our story continue, shall we? As the loyal puppets continue to move forward, the body of the Nutcracker left behind, they continue to walk towards what seems to be glowing lights far
Wait.
from the distance.
I take the arm.
Take the arm. Faust picks up one of the Nutcracker's arms and flings it over his shoulder like a what?
Could be useful for later. Like an arm. Like a dead arm.
Like a dead arm.
Over his dead arm flung over my shoulder.
Like this. Ooh.
Woo.
That doesn't help anybody.
Fluffly-Bows and the rest of the group can continue to walk towards this grand light that seems to be from the distance, or they can wait to see if anything else might come out of this moment. Oh, I apologize, the voice says as he looks back onto his memory to describe the scene before. There was one small element that we missed in this story, and that is the Nutcracker's head. The one that was still lifting its mouth up and down as it continued to talk to the loyal puppets, even after its body was still motionless.
Should we back up and pretend we're back there again?
Yeah.
Puppets! You hear it cry as you're walking away from its distance. I wouldn't go anywhere near Smite. He will tear you limb from limb and use your fluff for his snack time.
Isn't that what we just did to you?
You may rip my head from my body, but Smite will do worse than that.
Benji musters up all of the bravery inside of him as he speaks to the removed head of the Nutcracker and says, "Listen, you big meanie. We're good puppets, and we're trying to do a good thing here. And you took eyes from good puppets, like this one right here," as he points to Farmer Red Hat.
Yeah, it was delicious too. Or at least it will be delicious once Punch has it.
How dare you, you ruffian! You should apologize immediately!
I apologize that I was not able to eat the eye buttons myself.
That's not the kind of apology that I was looking for, and you know it!
Well, I apologize that my apology wasn't good enough for you. I still would...
Dr. Faust takes the arm and stuffs it into his mouth. And Dr. Faust decides perhaps he examines his legs and sees if they are useful for
As
some of
Dr.
our puppets that do not have legs.
How heavy is this head, I wonder, says Dancer.
As Dancer attempts to get her hands up underneath the legs, she realizes that it's a big head. It's about half the size of Dancer, even. And with the hat, it's actually as tall as Dancer is. So really, these Nutcrackers, they are not small puppet-sized creations. They are double, sometimes triple the size of most puppets. That being said, the legs are as big as trees. They could probably be popped off with the same amount of effort that was used to pop the arms and legs off. Or the arms off. Since you're
I'll help you, Dr. Faust, if you want legs. Who needs legs?
No, wait a moment. I think we're not thinking big enough here. I bet that if we used one of these bennies, that there could be some way for us to take this head with us and force it to do what we want.
I love it!
So as the loyal puppets use a Benny in order to make it 100% a reality that they can carry this head without any force of will other than their tiny puppet arms, Dancer picks the head of the Nutcracker up with both of her arms and carries it as lightly as she would a fellow dancer.
Can of Arizona?
That's easily she would lift a can of Arizona iced tea.
In the meantime, Dr. Faust looks to amputate the legs and wants to use a Benny to attach them to Benji's body.
Benji is now 30 feet tall.
As Dr. Faust uses a Benny to remove both of the legs through his own force of will easily, he acknowledges the fact that attaching both of the legs to Benji's form, who doesn't even have leg sockets in order to put them in, would be not only difficult but impossible, at least on the road here. Maybe if he had a workshop that was a little more easier to work with, he could modify Benji's body in order to accept the legs.
Benji thinks to himself, I don't know how I feel about this, and says to Doc Faust, listen, Doc, I appreciate the sentiment and all, but the more I think about this, the more I feel like It ain't natural. It ain't the way that the maker made us. In fact, I don't think that this Nutcracker guy was made by the maker. Who made you, Nutcracker? Who made you?
That's right! Dancer shakes the head a bit and says, answer us! Answer his questions!
The Nutcracker says with the jutted hand.
She dumps the leg out of his mouth.
Okay. Who made me matters not. All that matters is that Punch is my king, and he gives me puppets to eat.
No. That's not right, says Benji.
Now, I learned one thing from what you said, and you may not have meant to reveal it, but I'm sharp as a tack. It sounds to me like you haven't, or the eyes have not been eaten yet.
That's right.
Oh. The Nutcracker says as he stares blankly into the eyes of Fluffly Bows and has them dart from side to side. I insinuated no such thing, the Nutcracker says. Just because buttons are delicious doesn't mean that we or I have, or even Smite have eaten them. Maybe I have. Yes, I've eaten them. They're delicious.
I don't think so.
Tell her the truth and be polite about it,
Dr.
she
Faust
says as
can
she
look
shakes it.
inside his body to see if the eyes are inside.
As Dr. Faust examines the body of the Nutcracker, peering into the hole of which the head was popped up out of, he sees fluff and stuff. He sees pieces of wood. And he sees lots of other little parts of puppets, but no buttons.
It appears the Nutcracker is telling a lie.
I knew it.
Listen here, Mr. Nutcracker. You're going to come with us, and you are going to learn proper manners.
Over my dead body.
We are over your dead body, sir!
Oh. Fine then, but I'm not going to like it, he says as he attempts to do nothing because he doesn't have a body in which to roll around in. So,
I don't know, says Benji. I think you are gonna like it.
Manners can be fun.
Yes.
Is that a... Okay,
In fact, let's all go around and try to establish rapport with each other.
That's quite a good idea.
Using manners?
Sure, and hugs. Beatrice von Fluffly Bows, so all we have is his head, right?
Yeah.
Jumps up onto his head and gives his nose a big hug. I love you.
As Fluffly Bows hops up to the top of the Nutcracker's head, who, despite not being able to move, can still lift his jaws up and down, gets dangerously close to having her skirt torn off by the Nutcracker chomping
Fresh.
and ripping with all of his force.
Whoa, 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 whoa!
They wiggle and jiggle so much that it actually rolls Fluffly Bows off and turns the Nutcracker head so that it's face down into the felt as he continues to.
Oh, you know what? I tried.
Fluffly Bows, are you all right? Asks Benji.
Fluffly Bows gets up just fine. I'm made of cotton and love. Of course I'm fine.
Fluffly Bows looks down to notice that she also has a giant Nutcracker-shaped bite in the front of her skirt.
Oh my! Oh, thank goodness I was at the bottom of my skirt, but that could have revealed something. Woo-wee! I don't like that at all. I'm more in danger than I thought. That thing is a monster.
Dancer picks up the hand and gives it a shake. Sir, that is improper. You will not treat a lady in such a manner.
How are you handling? How is Dancer Lightfoot handling the head? Because as we just learned, that head can be quite dangerous, even unattached to a Nutcracker's body.
That's true.
Oh well, it was down on the ground, and I picked it up. And
It is down on the ground.
Let's put
it's
that
down on
arm
the
back
ground,
in.
and Dancer picks it up from the back and holds it so that it's facing outward. Now apologize.
I apologize for not eating all of her.
Oh, you naughty, naughty boy.
You big old
Dr.
jerk.
Faust, let's put that arm back in his mouth.
That's right.
Dr. Faust picks up the arm and stuffs it extra deep into his mouth. Over and over again.
Dr. Faust shoves the arm deeper and deeper into the mouth of the Nutcracker until he eventually sees the arm pop out of the bottom of the Nutcracker's head, giving a makeshift post for him to stand on top of.
No.
Benji wonders if this is a puppet that can't ever be saved. If he might be as bad as Punch. And he doesn't know if he can bring these concerns to light to his friends, but he hopes that maybe deep down they are feeling the same thing as well.
That's an interesting point, Benji. As Benji would know with the rest of them, Nutcrackers are notoriously bad creatures. They are, of course, Punch's servants. And them being the mindless, snapping, biting, almost single-purpose creations that they are, Benji may be on the right path here.
Should we take this head with us or leave him behind, puppet friends?
I want to take it with us so that we might intimidate some of the other Nutcrackers we might encounter.
I agree. A chomping head on a stick is never not useful.
He's on a stick?
If I've learned anything in the theater.
He's on his arm stick.
He's on an arm stick?
Yes, we have.
So as Benji
Dancer holds up the stick with the chomping, gnashing head on top of it.
As Dancer Lightfoot lifts up the head, Benji notices that Dr. Faust shoved the arm so deeply down its throat that
it came out the other side.
End of it popped out to the bottom.
It's just science.
Of its head.
Now I've seen everything, says Benji. What do you think, Doc?
Well, it does not seem to be very cooperative. But if we could somehow harness him to either intimidate or use his chomping as a weapon, I would not be opposed to that.
Pretty messed up, Doc. You're the best.
That's why you have me on board.
That's why we have you on board.
I do the dirty work.
And oh, did Dr. Faust do some dirty work. With the arm popping out of the bottom of the Nutcracker's head, it makes a very convenient flag for people to hold on, for puppets to hold on to as they carry the severed Nutcracker's head along with them, as Nestor the horse and the fellow puppets continue to walk down the road.
Beatrix von Fluffy Bow sidles up next to Benji on the road. Oh, hey, Benji.
Oh, hey, Beatrix.
Now, I learned something else in that battle.
What's that?
Well, the other day, you were so depressed and so sad.
Could you narrow it down which day specifically?
It was yesterday. And you mentioned how the reason that you were sad was that, one of them at least, was that you didn't even have legs.
That's true.
You had an opportunity to get legs and you turned it down, which makes me realize your pain goes deeper.
Wow. That might be very accurate, Beatrix.
You are not depressed because you don't have legs. You are depressed because you don't think you're worth legs.
Never before in my whole puppet life has a puppet cut to the core of me so deeply, so thoroughly. If I could cry a tear made of water, I would shoot it out of my clay eyeball. But I can't. But know this. I have heard your words, and I have taken them to heart. Thank you, Beatrix. Thank you for being a friend. You're a real golden girl.
I sure am, and so is my hair. Now, bring it in.
Oh, hugs? Ah, geez, okay.
Beatrix and Benji hug each other.
And what a
their arms.
fine hug it was. In fact, the hug lasts so long that it takes a few moments for the actor puppets to realize that they're at the foot of a cave. And what a big resident cave.
We've been hugging and walking this whole time.
How long have we been hugging
Buried
and walking?
in each other's shoulders.
Wow. Time goes differently in here, Puppetland, I guess.
In fact, the cave is so wide and so big that you could probably fit 10 puppets wide along the side of it.
Wow.
And it's so tall, you could stack 2 Nutcrackers on top of each other. and barely be able to touch the mouth.
Everyone be quiet.
Benji turns to the Nutcracker Head and asks, "Is this the Nutcracker camp? Is this where y'all friends are?"
Dancer pulls the leg down a little to clear the windpipe a little bit.
I'm not saying.
God, this guy, I swear he's the worst.
If
Benji.
he's not saying, then this probably is the place.
That's a pretty good indication. Dancer jams the leg back up in there.
As you're about to jam it back up in order to block his mouth, you hear him yell out as loud as he possibly can, "Spy! Spy!"
Now you've done it, you son of a bitch.
Well, at least we know it's the right place.
Beatrix, what word did you just use?
I said, I don't know, it just came out of me. I said, now you've done it, you son of a bitch.
Wow. That might be the worst thing I've ever heard, I think, somehow.
Wow, I'm good at
Beatrix, language!
It's not the worst thing I've ever heard, believe me.
In fact, it's not the worst thing that's ever been said in Puppetland before, but that's another story.
Wow.
Now, as the puppet actors continue to stare at the mouth of the cave, you could hear as the sound, the calling of Spite from the Nutcracker echoes. Spite, 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 as it goes into the cave.
Oh, let's run and hide and leave this Nutcracker's almost asleep body as a message that we are dangerous.
Well, the body is not there. You have the...
Choose the head.
The head with the
okay.
arms
The head spike.
Oh, the head spike. Okay.
Dancer sticks it into the ground like a pennant and then scampers off.
As the
hide.
actor puppets continue to run into side of the cave, leaving
No, not inside the cave. Wait.
Huh? But they said we're running inside the cave.
Oh, yes, we are, I guess. But isn't that where they live, the Nutcrackers?
As Beatrix von Fluffybows realizes that they're running into the cave, I guess they decide not to go into the cave and instead run into the forest.
They do. We do. I feel like
We do.
The cave is where the Nutcrackers live.
Okay, everybody, take a second for a second here. Benji yells at the top of his little lungs. We gotta make a decision. We gotta get on the same page. What are we doing here?
Let's climb up a tree and hide in the trees.
What?
Okay.
How come, Beatrix?
Well, because I don't know where these Nutcrackers are. At first I thought they lived in the cave, but now I'm not so sure. Maybe the cave is where the safety is. But now I feel like the safety might just be hiding amongst the trees.
Beatrix, are you afraid? Asks Benji.
Oh, I don't like admitting it, but I think I'm more scared than I've ever been in my life. Those Nutcracker mouths are just terrible.
Perhaps I could prescribe something to you for your fear.
Yeah, what do you have, Doc?
Okay, like
what do you have? We've had this the entire time.
Yes, what kind
Beatrix von Fluffybows can hear the sound of the chomping nutcrackers in her head. Or is it in her head? As Dr. Faust reaches and pulls out various medical gear out of every single one of his pockets.
Dr. Faust
Listen.
pulls out some anti-anxiety pills.
Yes, give them to me. I've had those before. I love them.
And these anti-anxiety pills, oh, how shiny and peppermint colored they do appear. In fact, that is some sweet, sweet candy that Beatrix von Fluffybows stares at and suddenly feels a lot more relaxed.
I give one to Benji too. Ends it enter if she needs it.
As all four of the puppets sit and stare at their peppermint laced candies, they see as a giant, stocky, brutish looking puppet starts to stomp out of the mouth of the
We are not
cave.
afraid anymore.
Oh,
We
that's
see him
cool.
Yeah, we see him and we're like, whatever.
Yeah, everything's cool now. That's awesome.
As you watch,
Manners suddenly matter a lot less to me. This is very nice.
And who cares if I don't have a date to the dance? I could dance by myself.
Yeah.
as you
Wait a moment. What? You have no dancer to dance with?
Wait, are you saying
I am indeed.
you'll be my dance partner to the dance? Did I just find a dance partner?
It would be my honor.
As Dancer and Fluffly Bows commit to their dance partnering for tonight's beautiful dance, they are suddenly shocked away from a roar as they turn to the mouth of the cave to see a large, stocky puppet sewed together from bits and flesh of the maker.
Oh, God.
As you look upon his face, you can see that he has taken crayons and has painted a beautiful smiling face across his body, almost like makeup on a beautiful dancer. Yet his face is sewn and cut into a constant grimace and scowl.
Beatrice takes another look at him. Did the maker... Is it flesh and wood and metal all combined?
It is flesh and buttons and paint.
Ew.
The paint makes him look as happy and as joyful as a performing clown, but the cuts that make his mouth and eyes only seem to be gruesome and sinister. As he stares at the four of you, juggling with one hand 3 buttons.
Faust looks at the buttons closely.
And Faust can look at them and see that, yes, indeed, these are the 3 buttons that make up Henrietta, Farmer Red Hat, and Nestor Hayseed's eyes.
Hey, those are those eyes we need, says Benji. Benji knows for a fact that if he didn't take that anxiety medicine a second ago, he would be freaking out right now.
Oh, you need these buttons, Spite says as he looks at all of our actor puppets. Good thing I'm taking them away, then.
Well,
You watch as he lifts his hands up and points across all of you. Deal with these puppets. I'm off to Punch's castle to give him delicious buttons for his dinner. As he continues to stumble and walk away.
before he does, Von Fluffily Bows takes a bow from her hair, wraps it up, gets one of those hard candies out, and fashions a sling. And as he's tossing the buttons up in the air, she tries to sling the hard candy through one of the buttons, knocking it out of the rhythm of his tossing and juggling.
As Fluffly Bows puts together this makeshift sling of ribbon and hard candies, she flings it towards Spite with a force of will that can only be done with a hand puppet. And as it sails and slings through the air...
Benny.
sails and slings through the air, a Nutcracker hand lifts up and catches the sling and clacks it on both sides of the head as both the hard candies punch into either side of the Nutcracker, watching it slip down in front,
So
behind
she
Spite.
didn't get a candy, but she accidentally hit a Nutcracker.
Yep.
Good job, Von Fluffily Bows. Thank you, Von Fluffily
As
Bows.
Nutcrackers continued to pour out from either side of the clearing.
Oh man, we are in some deep doo-doo right now, I tell you that. Oh, it's
What?
nice over here up in this tree. Are we up in the tree, Wonders Benji? No,
No.
those medicine really
Wonders-
took a toll.
Benji wonders
No.
about what happened with the tree, and that would have been a good place to be, except for the fact that now there are, 1, 2, 3... No, it would appear there are 4 Nutcrackers that are currently in the clearing, blocking off any real route to Spite and
one
the
of them's
trees
down,
above.
right?
One of them, thankfully, is down, but that was the 5th one, Fluffly Bows realizes.
Sure.
And isn't that a wonderful thing that at least one of the Nutcrackers are down?
Yup.
Von Fluffily Bows is so glad she said Benny at that moment.
Now, what are the puppets to do with so many Nutcrackers about?
Well, I think we should team up because last time we did better together than we did apart.
That's a great idea.
Let us take them out one by one.
As-
What if we use Dancer? What if we use the Nutcracker head on a spike?
That's right. We should go
As a
fetch that
weapon.
one.
Grab it and sling it like a giant club.
As Dancer Lightfoot runs forward, she picks up the severed Nutcracker head on a stick. Oh, that sounds like a wonderful carnival treat, doesn't it? Nutcracker head on a stick?
Yeah!
As she picks up the Nutcracker head on a stick, she swings it to and fro as if it was a delicate baton and she was performing a winter routine. She continues to swing it and slap it side to side as she connects to one Nutcracker to the next. And you watch as they continue to topple and swing off of balance.
Yeah, put him to sleep, Dancer girl! Put him to sleep!
Who wants some?
As Dancer continues to swing her baton, her deadly baton, to and fro, it is interesting that at that moment that a Nutcracker would reach out and grab a hold of one of her legs.
No!
Dancer!
And Dancer has this terrifying realization that, why, her strings only hold her up from the top. If she were to be lifted upside down, why then her strings couldn't move any of her body at all.
No!
And she goes limp as a rag doll.
Oh no! Buffly Flows hugs that.
Beatrix is too high on that medicine.
She went crazy. Is it me or are the Nutcrackers melting?
Oh,
I must have given you the wrong prescription.
She hugs that hand holding Dancer Lightfoot, and as she's hugging, she tries to pry that grip open.
So as Fluffy Bows hugs with all of her might, using all of her hug ability, as strong as she possibly can, she attempts to pry off of Dancer Lightfoot's hand that's currently holding on to her strings at the moment. And isn't it really convenient that baton that she was swinging to and fro really stunned two of those Nutcrackers who are currently trying to stop back and forth. So that means there's only one Nutcracker left to try to pluck Fluffy Bows up from the hand.
So Fluffy Bows is plucked up now?
Fluffy Bows currently has her little skirt being tugged on by one of the other Nutcrackers as well too. But isn't that great that the force of will allows Fluffy Bows to be pulled off of the hand, but at the same time open the hand that's holding Dancer as well
You're
too?
You're free, Dancer Lightfoot!
Thank you, Beatrix.
Benji says to all of these new combatants, leave my friends alone. You know what time it is? It's clobbering time.
Yay!
And Benji's gonna run up and gonna try to run up the arm of the Nutcracker that was attacking his new friend Dancer.
As Benji, let's try this again. As Benji runs up the arm of one of the Nutcrackers holding on to Dancer's fair strings, he gets up there. And in fact, he skittles up there with quite the deftness and speed that one would attribute to a finger puppet.
Yay!
But now that he's there, what would he like to do to the Nutcracker?
What is he to do? What is there to do? Thinks Benji. Oh boy, I am really in a pickle on this one. I'm near the top of the shoulders of this Nutcracker, and why, I'm stumped. Benji then remembers that the most important power of all is the power of friendship, and he's going to use all of his bravery and might and try to move his tiny little arms back and forth, to and fro, to try to hit this Nutcracker's head as hard as he can.
Yeah, I believe you, Benji! Get him!
As Benji twists to and fro, his papier-mâché arms slapping the Nutcracker on either side of his face over and over again, you see the Nutcracker is attempting to chomp and lift and chomp and lift, but Benji, too deft and fast, is not able to get him. In fact, if anything, he's having a hard time holding on to Dancer while trying to get his fine clamping jaws down upon the finger puppet and lets Dancer go.
Yay! Dancer, you really are free now.
I'm free!
This is very convenient because at this time, one of the Nutcrackers who was stumbling to and fro from being clobbered there, it lifts up, instead of a cludge budge that you would normally see, which the other ones have started to lift up, this one brings up a shiny metallic pair of scissors.
Oh, you dirty, dirty bitch.
As it takes both of its arms,
Yeah.
it has to hold it with two hands as it opens and closes, opens and closes again and again, going straight for Dancer's strings.
Oh, no.
Run,
At that
Dancer.
moment, can I say something?
Yeah, no.
Dr. Faust remembers he has a scalpel in his pocket.
Oh.
And he pulls the scalpel out and shoves it into the Nutcracker's leg.
As Dr. Faust takes the tiny metal scalpel that the maker made for him, because as we all know, Dr. Faust was supposed to be the surgeon that Punch always wanted to be. Faust is the creator made by the maker that Punch always wanted to be, but decided the last minute that no puppet should have that kind of power. Instead, takes that metal scalpel and jabs it straight into the leg of one of the Nutcrackers, splitting it as wood cracks all the way up the top of the Nutcracker's leg. You watch as that Nutcracker holding the scissors turns down to Dr. Faust with the metal scalpel inside, and instead turns his scissors onto Dr. Faust instead.
Dancer hauls up and flies through the air with a graceful kick right into the Nutcracker's face.
As Dancer flies, pirouettes through the air, kicking the Nutcracker in the face, the scissors close unexpectedly, and the Nutcracker falls forward, landing on top of the scissors with both of the handles face onto him and the blade pointing into the ground of Puppetland.
Beatrix von Fluffy-Bows turns to the other two that haven't been dealt with, or
that are currently still lifting up and are attempting to pick up puppets wherever they can. In fact, the other two at this moment seem to be in a great place to not only pluck Benji off of the Nutcracker that was holding Dancer, but also get Dancer herself.
oh, then von Fluffy-Bows says, right here, you maggots, come forward, you stupid wooden pieces of garbage, get on over here, run, son, I'm gonna be out of here faster than you think. And tries to taunt them over to her.
As Fluffy-Bows taunts one of the Nutcrackers, you could see that, especially being called a maggot?
A maggot.
Was particularly useful as one of the Nutcrackers turns.
Thank you.
As one of the Nutcracker turns towards you, knowing that the last thing that he wants to be called is a maggot with termites inside of him. That's the worst thing you'd call something with wood.
Maggot-infested Nutcracker.
As it turns towards Fluffy-Bows, it lifts its legs up, boom, 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 as it stalks forward with its two
And how many
arms.
are coming for me?
Just the one.
Just one.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Von Fluffy-Bows is right in front of a tree, and as he gathers up speed and walks right towards Fluffy-Bows, she dodges out of the way, leaving him smack dab to take a tree or a branch in the eye.
Well, isn't that really nice that both Fluffy-Bows and the Nutcracker that Fluffy-Bows is so low that the Nutcracker would have to look straight down in order to see her appropriately. As it gains speed and walks forward with a mighty momentum, you hear the sound of wood on wood as the Nutcracker takes its hat and clack right onto the top of its head, watching as its head spins off and tumbles down to the ground, landing upside down, hat first, onto the ground. The body continues forward, however, as it continues to chase Fluffy-Bows around the felt fields.
Oh, no, you don't. Dancer pushes the head and rolls it towards the legs of the oncoming giant.
As the head tumbles down, Dancer remarkably is reminded of a fun game of bowling. As she watches as the head tumbles down and clips the legs underneath the Nutcracker's headless body as it falls down to the ground, motionless, brought down by its own head.
Benji shouts, "That's one way to get ahead in life."
Benji says as he feels the tiny little, as he feels the ground lift up from underneath him, as a Nutcracker lifts him up, and it lifts him over the top of his head as if to drop him like a piece of popcorn into his mouth. Let's take one puzzle piece off of Benji's.
Oh, no.
Yes.
We have to do something!
Oh, Von Fluffy grabs a tree branch and shoves it into that guy's mouth to make sure that he can't clamp down right when he thinks he can.
You're all the way. So as Fluffy Bows may recall, she is all the way at the other body of the other Nutcracker, all the way down. She would have to do a pretty amazing and beautiful, elegant maneuver in order to get all the way up to the top of that Nutcracker.
Let me help you! And Dancer gives her a little boost. She cups her hands. Wait, hang on.
You got this?
I got this.
It's the top one.
I got this. She cups her hands, lowers down.
Okay, I'm gonna run, and as soon as I'm in your hand, lift up.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Come towards me.
Ooh.
1, 2, 3.
As Dancer boosts up Fluffy Bows, having her fly through the air with the grace and ease that of someone on the flying trapeze. She darts through the air and shoves the tree branch down into the gullet of the Nutcracker,
like this.
waiting for Benji. Oh, and braces it perfectly in between his clacking jaws. And Benji tumbles into the mouth of the Nutcracker. And the cavernous hole that he is inside of, he can hear the cracking of wood as the tree branch is taking all of the pressure off of the jaws of the Nutcracker.
Oh, so Benji's in a mouth?
Benji finds himself in the mouth of the Nutcracker, and in a moment in which he thought his little papier-mâché body was going to be crunched into oblivion, he instead finds a tree branch is braced on both ends of the mouth, preventing his
Demise.
I was going to say trash compactor like demise.
Yeah.
But yes, demise is still appropriate.
I gotta get the heck out of here. Thanks, Benji.
Yes.
And he starts to formulate a plan. Maybe if I jump with all of my might. Wait a minute, I don't have any legs. What am I thinking? Jeez.
Hey, Von Fluffy Bows' voice sparks into his head. You only believe you're not worth legs.
Wow, Beatrix is right. I only believe I'm not worth legs.
Dr. Faust's voice also speaks inside of him and says, "You don't worry about anything right now, are you?"
Oh, yeah.
Relax.
Yeah, I got nice friends, thinks Benji. I got real good friends. And then Benji, in this moment of clarity, thinks, oh, I remember the time I saw Dancer do the most beautiful dancing move. It looked a lot like this.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. So impressive, thinks Benji. That's my inspiration. I'm gonna get out of this mouth because I want to see Dancer do more dancing. So Benji pushes himself forward out of the mouth of the Nutcracker, and on the way out, he's gonna grab this brace and he's gonna swing his way out like this. Like if the brace is right there, he's gonna swing his way, out of the mouth and take the brace with him so that the Nutcracker chomps down in the very last possible moment, right as Benji escapes his impending doom. And then Benji lands down on the ground and tumbles, and he's holding up that wooden brace, and he says, oh, it's clobbering time.
And that is the first time that Benji found not only his legs, but his beating stick.
Oh! Tree branch for Benji.
Yeah.
And with that, Benji took that clobbering stick and he pounded that Nutcracker who almost tried to eat him. He pounded him over and over and over again until that Nutcracker was not much more than its own steaming pile of wood.
Yelling the entire time, you son of a bitch, you son of a bitch, you son of a bitch.
Get him, Benji, get him!
Thanks for the word, Beatrix. Thanks, Dancer. You son of a bitch.
And with that, there was only a few Nutcrackers left, and seeing the brutality of Benji Grimm pummeling that Nutcracker as only a lonely finger puppet would, they continued to run off like the scared little biters that they are.
Yeah. Oh, we did it, everyone.
Done.
Farmer Red Hat addresses Benji. What the heck have you been doing this whole time?
You look over at Farmer Red Hat, who has been sitting on a log and his mouth agaped from seeing the just dexterous activities that the actor puppets have been portraying in this battle of wits and will and strength that was shown on this, the Nutcracker Camp Day. On this, the day of the Nutcracker Camp Battle. Sure, we'll use that one instead.
Nutcracker Camp Battle?
Yeah.
That's good.
I like the sound of that, Beatrix.
Mm-hmm.
Legends will be told of us and all of the stuff we did.
Of Benji and his beating stick.
Yes, the day Benji got his beating stick.
Beating stick.
Dr. Faust, look at my dress. It's all bitten through by a nutcracker. Isn't there something you can do with another piece of cloth to fix it?
Yes, Dr. Faust pulls out his tiny little surgical thread and scissors and needle and sews her dress back together.
And now Fluffly Bows has, in her patchwork dress, she has the gleaming colors of one of the Nutcracker sashes.
You have to look at that. Did you see what that looked like? I just saw it.
Hey,
Puppets!
I'm sewing here.
Hey, puppetry's not consent. So as Fluffly Bows, as Dr. Faust turns away from his sewing project, Fluffly Bows now has a nice little patch of Nutcracker colors laid out on the front, right where the bite used to be.
Benji,
And with
Yes,
that,
Dancer?
that was quite the leap you did out of the Nutcracker's mouth.
Why, you are my inspiration, Dancer, admits Benji.
Oh, why, thank you. But I mean, I know that you're part of the circus, but I feel like if you ever wanted to, there's a dance troupe waiting for you at the end of all this.
Wow. And to you, Dancer, even though you were forced into a life of dancing from your parents or whatever, you also probably have a spot on a team of strong men and women, because you've lifted stuff that I couldn't even believe was lifted. But Dancer, can I make a request? Asks Benji coyly.
Yes, of course, Benji.
Jeez, if it's too much trouble, then forget about it, but do you think you can leap in the air for me and do a beautiful dance move?
Yay, thank you.
Yay, thank you.
perfect
It's
time.
my favorite, Dancer.
For you, Benji, anything.
Yay. Whoa! Wow, one leg. Two.
Wait, hang on. I'm doing this. Okay, I did it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. The splits.
And as Dancer leaps into the air with a split leg split, she takes a wondrous bow. And Benji and the rest of the actor puppets clap as their little puppet hands can only clap.
Oh, bravo, bravo!
As they sit amongst the broken and disheveled corpses of the Nutcrackers.
I can't clap, but great job, Dancer.
Bravo!
Nestor Hayseed walks over and starts munching on little bits and pieces of the wood that made up the Nutcrackers. As he looks up to the four of the actor puppets and go, "Well, what happened to Smite?
Oh, he ran. Oh, good question. We're not even.
Where's my eyes?
I'm sorry, Nestor.
Oh,
You must
well."
have seen how powerful we are. And
Yeah, that Spite is the biggest, most meanest flesh puppet I ever saw.
clearly a
And-
coward for running away.
And with that, the actor puppets know that even though Smite got a head start, they probably could go track him down, as he's probably making his way along the edge of the milk and cookies as we speak.
The good
And
news
with-
is I think...
With that, hold on. With that,
Sorry.
we're going to take a little brief break.
Oh, okay.
And then we'll come back in about a few minutes so that we can come back and see how the rest of this shakes down.
End of chapter 2.
Chapter... I think we're still on chapter 1. But yes, we will continue in a moment. See you in a second. So people who have been asking who made these puppets, he goes by Jigsaw Jones or Jonesy. He is a puppeteer that's based out of Rochester, New York. He's actually a buddy of mine who I was introduced through another puppeteer friend of mine who works over at Universal. I was on King of the Nerds with. So she was on season 2 of King of the Nerds, and we were going to be doing Puppetland. And I asked, "Hey, do you have time to make puppets?" And she said, "No, but I know people who do." And she gave me this gentleman's name, and I have to personally say I have been blown away by the quality of these puppets and how you guys are using them.
Yes, thank you, Jigsaw Jones, a.k.a.
Thanks, Jonesy.
Yeah, jigsawfanclub.com for the record, if people want to go and
I'll join the fan club.
say, hey,
They're great.
good puppet. Hey, good puppet making, yo. Don't do it like that. Don't do it like that.
No, do it exactly like that.
And even then, I'm willing to say this to everyone as well too. When I was talking about the dancer, which was for Erica, I said, hey, if you want to do just a doll like Marionette, so you didn't have to go full-blown traditional Marionette, which is described in the book as a marionette for Erica's character, he was like, nah, dude, I got this.
I know.
He freaking made him.
This is a full-on marionette.
And marionettes, if you were to get like a real, like a good marionette that's used in really good like vaudeville or just classically trained theater, like puppet theater, like they're hard, dude. They're hard to make. And he did a really great job. So
Incredible.
especially all the information we had to go off him was that we had a color scheme and we just said we want to make the dancer. So yeah. Anyway, enough about puppets. Let's play Puppetland. Great. So as you sit and hug and celebrate, as the puppets sit and hug and celebrate amongst the corpses of the fallen Nutcrackers, they are reminded that Smite still has the buttons of not only Farmer Red Hat, but Henrietta Penny and Nestor Hayseed the horse, who Red Hat and Nestor himself are still sitting with our actor puppet friends, and are there. But Nestor Hayseed is the first one to speak up amongst the group as he nuzzles Benji Grimm on the side of his shoulder and goes, "Benji, where did Smite go?"
Well, Nestor, you missed a big, great, grand, epic fight. And we had to fight a lot of Nutcrackers. And now, since we don't have to do that anymore, we're gonna go hunt down Spite because he got away.
So you didn't get our eyes then?
No, not yet, Nestor. Sorry. And then Benji slinks off to near a tree and just starts to cry to himself in the corner. I'm no good at anything. Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez.
But the good news is that we did defeat a whole bunch of 5 Nutcrackers, and I think that Spot left thinking, well, when we follow him, he'll have thought that his 5 Nutcrackers did his dirty work and did the job, because we were never supposed to survive that, I don't think. So when we show up, Spot's gonna be like, oh no!
Surprise will be on our side.
Exactly.
So with that...
Also, Benji, do you see why now I said to maybe talk to someone?
What's that, Beatrix?
We can talk about it later, but, think about what I said.
And Benji does.
And as Benji and Beatrix von Flufflybos contemplate, Dancer and Faust are still, I would assume, looking over the various bodies of the fallen and disheveled Nutcrackers, wondering, well, could we use these to follow Spite along the lake of milk and cookies?
Could we use what?
Could we use the bodies of these nutcrackers like we did previously?
Yes, maybe there's a map inside one of them.
Well,
sure.
Isn't that interesting? As Beatrix von Flufflybow starts examining a lot of the various bodies of the nutcrackers, they realize that there is a very crudely drawn map leading straight from the Nutcracker camp to where Punch's castle is.
Is it on one of their
Why, how convenient, a map.
It's literally in the coats of one of the nutcrackers. Oh, you know what? I see what you're saying.
Else of yours?
I actually like that. It was
gross.
It was painted on the back of one of the nutcrackers' bodies.
See, I was thinking we were going to use the bodies, and I would reanimate one of them and make an undead puppet. And then send the Nutcracker army against him.
Classic
what exactly kind of doctor are you again?
I have several degrees.
Hey,
Now-
Flufflybows goes up to one of the Nutcracker with the map tattooed on his back and says, "We were looking for the map this whole time, but little did we know." And the Nutcracker's laying back. "You were the map." And just kisses him on his Nutcracker mouth.
Well, and that's when Beatrix von Flufflybows realizes, well, this is actually a pretty useless map because everybody knows where Punch's castle is.
Oh,
in fact, it's the biggest thing that you can see on the skyline of Puppetland.
Oh.
But it is nice to know maybe there's a secret way there or something.
Also, it's interesting to note that these nutcrackers had the manual dexterity to draw a map onto somebody's back.
They're really terrifying creatures. They're more able than we give them credit for.
And everyone who can hold a crayon or a paintbrush can paint on a nutcracker's back. So if they can hold a paintbrush, what else could they hold? They could definitely hold something, or they could definitely hold on to a puppet's arm as they rip it right out of their sockets.
Oh. Yes.
That's something that a nutcracker can definitely do.
Yes, that's right. So Mr. Red Hat, Farmer Red Hat, and Mr. Hayseed, you guys should all be very grateful that all you lost was an eye in your encounter.
We're very grateful indeed, but still, a lost eye is a lost eye. And you know what, actor friends, we can actually go do this. I'll convince Henrietta Penny that we can live without our eyes. In fact, I will give her my eye, and I will live blind for the rest of my life.
No, because I gave you one of mine, remember? You have one. You have one, or who did I give it to? I think it's you.
You did give it to. Oh yeah, and thank you. But I have to say, I'm so sorry to tell you, and I was just saying this to make you feel better.
Oh Jesus! Now what?
But even though Dr. Faust put it into my puppet body, I can't see out of it. I can only see out of my own eye.
Oh, jeez.
I am a failure.
As am I. Oh no!
Now, let's not all get up in a tizzy here.
Oh, Benji, I see what you mean. I'm gonna kill myself. I'm gonna put myself right to
Wait,
sleep.
I'll take more antidepressants.
Everybody pull yourselves together!
Dancer shouts out in the midst of everyone to get themselves
Pull yourselves together! Now, we have done such a good job so far. Everybody working together in order to get rid of these awful, awful nutcrackers. And if we can take down an army of nutcrackers ourselves, I think that we can take on Punch and at least this horrible ruffian of his smite. Spite?
Spite.
Smite.
Smite?
No,
Spite.
Spite?
Spite.
We will smite spite.
We will smite.
Spite?
Yeah,
Spite.
just a spite punch.
So just
That's right.
and just to kind of help you along a little bit.
So let's just take one of Dr. Faust's special candies and let's move along on our way.
I think it would be about candy time. In fact, most of the puppets are feeling pretty hungry.
Oh,
Do you want to get some of that caramel
yes,
popcorn out of the
Let's
back
have some
of
of that
Mr.
popcorn
Hayseed?
now.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yes, let's eat some popcorn. Popcorn balls for everyone.
And listen here, puppet friend, interjects Benji. You won't have to go back and tell Henrietta anything, because we're gonna find your eyes, we promise.
That's right.
Oh, well, that's very great of you, Benji. I have full faith in you that you'll be able to bring out spite and bring joy back to respite.
And I know you were worried about this, but Farmer Red Hat, I wouldn't be worried at all about Freddie Flopsy-Doo.
Huh? Who's Freddy Flopsy Dude?
Foppity Fredsworth. I wouldn't worry about him at all.
Oh, who's...
He's after, well, as we all know, he's after Henrietta's heart as well.
Foppity?
And the fact that they're spending all this time together doesn't really make much of a difference, because I guarantee you that you'll still have her heart when you come back. Of course, it is all up to her, but...
I trust Henrietta with my life, and I don't know who this Foppity Fredsworth you're talking about is, but I would never let my Henrietta go. I would never let my Henrietta make any choice that wasn't hers to give.
Oh,
That's very
that was
kind.
a King Solomon answer if I ever heard one. Don't split that baby in half.
One
That's the
eye.
part of this King Solomon story I like the most. When they're going to split the baby in half.
Oh, Faust, you know.
I don't understand the reference.
One
Benji.
eye, and Farmer Red Hat chimes in again. One eye, I may only have one eye, but I am not blind to the ways of love.
Oh, beautiful. Well said, well said.
Now, as the puppets continue to think about where are they going to meet on their showdown with Spite in order to claim back the buttons that are so rightfully our innocent puppets, they think about what are some of the other boys that Punch has inside of his retinue that they could potentially run across in their adventures along Puppetland.
Oh, yes, Beatrix thinks there could be more than just Nutcrackers.
In fact, there are several boys. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, there are 6 different boys that have all been made from the maker's skin when Punch first brought them to life.
Do you mean flesh puppets?
Yes, in fact, Haunt would be the puppet that would probably be the next most terrifying
Haunt?
to be around. In fact, let me name them now so that you might know the flesh puppets that were brought to life by Punch.
Please do.
First, and you've met him and you know him, and he is the most brutal of all of Punch's boys. He is Spite, and he is the one who, with jealousy in his heart, will tear apart any puppet who he thinks better of him. Then there is the puppet Haunt. Now, Haunt is greatly feared by puppets who plot against Punch because he can feel the emotions of puppets around him. In fact, Haunt is the only one that doesn't speak because he has no jaw to speak of.
Go, Rose!
And all Haunt can do is circle around the puppets who he knows is disloyal to Punch.
Jesus.
Next is Grief. Grief is the tool of Punch's justice. Grief enacts the edict that Punch decrees that all puppets must be happy. And he makes them feel terrible for not bringing happiness into this world in that Punch's name.
Yeah, we're all in trouble then. We're all an emotional wreck.
Now, he ensures that any puppet who may be sad is given due justice by being ripped limb from limb.
Oh my god, Benji.
Huh?
Oh shit. You're fucked.
Whoa! New words!
Now,
Beatrix.
Now, that brings us to our next puppet, who is Vengeance himself. Vengeance is one of Punch's boys who doesn't delight in the destruction of puppets, just the maiming and brutalizing of them as they can. He doesn't want to see them die, or he doesn't want to see them asleep. He'd rather keep them awake as long as he can until they finally fall asleep. Now, Mayhem is one of the most terrifying puppets of all, as he is a piece of random destruction and implementation. While most of the other puppets have a reason for doing what they do, Mayhem has none. In fact, wherever Mayhem goes, trouble is sure to follow. And finally, there is Silence. Now, Silence is one of Punch's greatest and most favorite tools, because Silence has the ability to make sure that no puppets know that he is in the area. He can become invisible. Silence can discard his cloak of flesh and be simply an edict of Punch's most sinister desires before redonning his cloak in order to take Punch's vengeance out on unwearing puppets. And those are the 6 of Punch's boys, with Spite being the only one that you know of and have met at this point. Now, while he is definitely the most brutal, he is also the one who is most clear. He is a jealous puppet. Spite does not like to have puppets do things better than he does and would rather see them torn and ripped and cut apart than exist in a life that is better than what he has made for himself, which is why he tries to do everything better than any other puppet.
Oh, a perfectionist. Mom, nope, don't have a mother, just the maker.
Just the maker.
Those certainly seem like real awful boys. Hope we never run into anybody else other than Spite. Now let's go get those eyes back, gang.
They might need my hugs.
Now, the puppet actors do recall that there is a pretty direct path from here to Punch's castle, and that is along along the bank of the Lake of Milk and Cookies. And at this point, they are actually along the long end leading into Punch's castle, and they could probably cut off Spite if they take the shorter route or take a ferry across the lake itself.
Just then, Benji thinks to himself, maybe there's another reason why this map was drawn on the back of this Nutcracker. Benji makes his way over to the fallen beast and looks upon his back and looks real close. He squints his eyes, he gets up close and personal, and he hopes to find some minor detail that was maybe missed by everybody else when they looked at the map. And what does Benji find?
Benji finds something, a script, something written. It seems to be exactly what Benji's looking for. It's a tiny detail that other puppets may have missed, which gives them a direct route right towards Punch's. It gives them a direct route to what?
Treasure!
There's something here, gang, but I can't quite make it out.
It gives the puppets a direct route, in fact, a secret route through the candy cave.
Secret route.
Through the candy cave! Oh my god!
It actually is a tiny route that can take the puppets and cut straight through the lake of Milk and Cookies, and be able to beat Smite before he can get to Punch's castle.
Oh, wonderful.
Wow!
Benji relays all of that information to his puppet friends.
What a wonderful script and what a wonderful realization. I could use more candy. I'm a nervous wreck. Oh, thank you.
Now that Benji has made this discovery, he realizes to a greater amount of detail that this secret route not only bypasses the Lake of Milk and Cookies, but potentially offers the actor puppets a great ambush spot to not only bring Spite, either engage Spite along the land of Milk and Cookies, but potentially bring him into the candy cave as well too.
What do you say, gang? Asks Benji.
Let's ambush him. I know that if he found out that we killed his Nutcrackers, that means that we're better than the Nutcrackers, which means we're better than him. Well, we would unleash the rage of a spiteful puppet.
Let's take him out before he even knows what hit him.
Yes.
So, with the puppet's incredibly vague plan in place, they go through and walk towards the entrance to the candy cave. Now, the candy cave, oh, puppets, if you could see the candy cave, it is one of the most beautiful wonders of Puppetland. Wow. In fact, it is one of the maker's favorite places because he would go and drop candies off to the puppets and would constantly make new deposits for the puppets to bring back to their land in order to consume and eat and be happy as the maker designed them all to be. Now, since the maker's death, the candy cave has become a lot less beautiful and glittering than it once was. In fact, most of the candy cave on the top and lower levels have been stripped nearly bare of candies. At one point in the time in the world, there may be no longer any candies inside of Puppetland.
No.
But until then, there will always be a new fresh vein to find. And as the actor puppets come across the entrance to the candy cave, they are reminded of the glory and the beauty and the wonder that the candy cave once was.
Wow. All that's left here is just some rocks and dirt. Wait, that's not rocks and dirt. Those are pop rocks and brownie crumbs.
And as Benji Grimm looks into the candy cave, he can see, yes, there are some remnants of pop rocks and brownie bits that are sticking out of one of the small sides of the papier-mâché earthenware that makes up the candy caves. And as he walks into the front in order to grab and hold onto one of the candies to look at and admire its beauty himself, he realizes that this map leading into the candy cave actually has a tiny, tiny schematic of the discovered areas of the candy cave, which will lead them straight to the ambush zone.
Oh.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah, that's real nice.
Like someone had the foresight to make that just for us.
Oh, and isn't this interesting? On the map as well, too, it has delicate little notes that are written in beautiful little handwriting, showing all of the different crumbling drop zones and weak areas that a puppet should probably avoid or be careful, because the entire candy cave could crush down onto him, crushing their little bodies. What?
I read it immediately. I read it all. I soak it up with my doctor brain, memorizing it all.
Dr. Faust looks over the map and memorizes every little scrap and detail, committing it to memory so deeply that he could read it in his sleep.
Ooh, that might be helpful. Oh.
Go ahead.
No, Beatrix von Fluffy Bows gathers up some of the remnants of the candies and starts eating them.
Well, isn't that interesting? Because puppets can't really eat, can they? But you know what they can do? They can enjoy the beautiful sight of a piece of candy as it crumples out of existence. And they walk away feeling much more nourished and better than they do.
Does it crumple like a stop motion candy? Like the thing
disappears.
Like it unwraps itself and then stop motionly disappears?
If you're talking about how it magically disappears into nothing, yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
All right, well, I think I'm addicted.
Well, Fluffy Bows comes to terms with her addiction. Or maybe she doesn't. In fact, I don't think she does at all. She discovers her addiction inside of the candy cave as they plunge deeper into its bowels.
I love this and I need it.
Beatrix, just remember that addiction is of a hell of a beast, and that it's only going to get better if you want it to get better. Just a word of advice.
Thank you, Dancer Lightfoot. I cannot control what I want.
As the actor puppets follow Faust's memorized route into the candy cave, they are constantly reminded that maybe they're not the only ones inside of this. Now, puppets do come and go inside of the candy cave in order to harvest its sweet treats to bring back into the city of Respite. But it appears to be something is following them.
Oh, jeez. I hope it ain't moloids of the mole man. Those guys are the worst, says Benji.
I do not know these creatures of which you speak, but
I
do not like the idea of being followed by anyone.
Let's hope it's a friendly puppet.
What?
And not a moloid.
What are puppets to do? Are they going to see if they can find out what's following them? Or are they going to ignore it, continuing along their path, hoping to get ahead of Respite?
Let's practice our ambush skills.
Oh.
Good idea, Beatrix.
That's a good idea. Well, I'll hide behind this large cluster of pop rocks.
That's me. No, just kidding.
As Dancer puts herself into a seated position behind a large pile of discarded paper mache, which looks like pop rocks. And Fluffy Bows pins herself to the ceiling of the cave. The other two puppets are left wondering, what are these two doing?
Oh, we're practicing our ambush.
Skills.
Oh. I'll practice being bait, as I'm not too strong, but I sure am fast.
Oh.
I'll stand in the middle of the cave, says Benji, as he positions himself right there.
Sure, and flail your arms around a little bit.
There we go.
Yeah, make you look like a real tasty puppet.
I'm a real tasty puppet. I'm so tasty. Come have a taste of
What
me.
about you, Dr. Fast?
I hide in the shadows, my scalpel drawn.
Yes, that
waiting
seems
for the
right.
moment.
Terrifying.
In the darkness of the cave, there's lots of shadows. So Dr. Faust finds an easy place where only his sinister nose seems to be piercing out from the midst of the shadows. A few moments go by, then a few moments more, then a few more moments, as eventually Benji sees a couple of dark, piercing eyes ahead of him in the darkness of the cave, and he can hear the sounds of shuffling feet scooting forward in a rhythmic pattern.
Jeez, keep it together, Benji. Keep it together. Jeez.
Now, as these two piercing eyes appear to come closer, in the light, he watches as another pair, then another pair, then 5 more pairs appear in the darkness. As the ring of light leading to where Benji is comes near and nearer towards the piercing, beady eyes, you watch as a tiny, felty little creature walks into the ring of light.
I pounce on him.
Get him!
I fall right down on that one.
Benji scurries out of the way as quick as he can. Jeez.
As Fluffy Bows pounces onto the tiny little felt creature and Dancer jumps down, you watch as you can ever so briefly see the eyes shriek all at one moment. As they scatter and run as far away from you as they possibly can.
Did I get one?
Do any of them run into me hiding in the
They run from where they once came. So, Dancer, you jump down as well too, right?
Yes.
As Dancer jumped down, she gets a brief look at these tiny little creatures and notices they seem to be white, almost, very much colorless. Little felty things.
Oh no.
Effortless, shapeless forms that seem to be cut and stitched and stuffed by felt.
Those are scraps. I know what those are.
What
They're
are these
scraps
things?
of the maker.
And as Fluffy Bows lifts her hand up, she picks up a little screaming, wiggling, squiggly wiggly scrap inside of her hand. And yes, isn't that interesting? It is a scrap. Scraps of the maker. They are small pieces of fabric that the maker didn't have the heart to throw away, but didn't want to leave wasted as well. So he made a bunch of little scrap puppets in order to populate, clean, and take care of Puppetland.
Wow.
There are hundreds of little scrap puppets, but no one's seen them for years. Once the sun never rose again, they all seemed to disappear once they saw Punch and his boys and the Nutcrackers run across Puppetland.
Be still, you little scrap. Be still. I got you. I love you. I love you so much. You're home. You're home. It's okay. I'm paying you some attention. I've got the love of the maker in me.
As Fluffy Bows squeezes and holds onto the scrap, it slowly stops wiggling and calms down and eventually lays completely still in the arms of Fluffy Bows.
All right, there you go.
As Fluffy Bows pets the little scrap, it continues to calm itself and even begins to make a small cooing sound that could be interpreted as a purr.
Oh my God, I think I have a baby.
How do you feel about that?
I love it so much.
Reminds me of the King Solomon story we talked about.
I know I just can't stop thinking of babies, and I think, yes, there is a through line here. Oh, hi, little baby, Scrap. Yeah, that's pretty nice, isn't it? Well, turns out they weren't that evil, you guys.
Oh.
Of course not, says Benji. Why, if they're products of the Maker, if the Maker touched them, then they gotta be good.
Maybe we can use my little Scrap. What's your name, little Scrap? Eek Eek. Your name is Eek Eek. That's what it is now. Will you guide us through the rest of the cave? That's a yes!
How did you know that, Beatrix?
Oh, this is my little child now.
And even though Faust has a memorized portion of the map leading into his head, Beatrix von Fluffybose puts down Scrap, and it continues to scurry along the route in which Fluffybose and the rest of the actor puppets were going down anyway. Leading the way with its tiny little white body scurrying along the bottom of the floor anyway.
Dr. Faust, this is a terrible time to develop an addiction right before I have a child.
Don't worry, we have another pill for that, too.
How many of its friends are there?
Well, before you had a chance to scare them all away, you saw at least 8, if not maybe 10 or more.
Oh. Well, I suppose I should apologize to your child?
Yes. This is my baby Eek Eek.
We got ourselves a veritable foundation of people over here. This is great. And look at us 4. We're so good. We're such good heroes. Look at it. We're like fantastic, us 4. Now let's get the heck out of this cave, huh? Come on.
As Eek Eek leads you through the rest of the candy cave, you get closer and closer to the out. I forgot what the term for the exit. The exit of the cave.
Hey, look, it's the exit of the cave.
The exit of the candy cave.
As you get closer and the light begins to pour deeper and deeper into the candy cave, Eek Eek begins to slow to the point of where it will not cross the line leading from the darkness of the cave into the light of the Puppetland eternal night.
Doesn't your child want to come with us?
Oh, Eek Eek, won't you come with us? I'm your mother now.
Eek Eek seems to shake a little bit as if it has never been this far in the cave in its entire life, and looks up at Fluffybose and seems to be struggling with a choice at this moment. Does it want to go back to its family and the only thing that it's ever known? Or does it want to live with the comfort of this new hand puppet who has shown it, at first, so much violence and tendency, but then so much love and grace?
Yes, Eek Eek, you know I'll always take care of you. And despite all the flaws in my head, my addictions, my personality disorders, and all of my mental illnesses, I'll get those under control. But you know I love you, and I want you to be with me. I was so lucky to have you in the last 5 minutes of my life, and I don't know what I'd do without you.
Just then, Benji gets an idea. He turns to another member of the party, Nestor Hayseed, who's a horse, and says, "Hey, Nestor, you're like a horse, right?
Yeah.
You're part of the animal world, and you can talk to us puppets that aren't animal puppets. Maybe you can communicate with our new friend Eek Eek and try to let him or her or it or they know that they are safe with us as friends."
Nestor turns towards Benji Grimm and goes, "I can understand why you would think that, Benji.
Oh, jeez.
But, as you notice, I've got a marionette horse mouth here, which means I can talk to you pretty easily.
Yeah.
You see that little scrap there?
Uh-huh.
It's just a scrap. It may have the light of the Maker inside of it,
Bless you.
but that doesn't mean that it has a mouth to communicate with. If it's squeaking, then that may be the only way it can talk. Now, you can probably see just as well as, oh, little Tucker's scared over there. And Farmer Red Hat chimes in at that point. And Farmer Red Hat looks over at little Geek as well too and says, "Yeah, you can see it over there. It's looking mighty shaky." But, you know, Fluffalybow's what
Uh-oh. Farmer Red Hat.
Farmer Red Hat.
Well, I've taken care of lots of animals in my time, Fluffalybow's, and I can tell you you're going to need a lot more loyalty than that, or show it some more loyalty than that, than just pouncing on it and stroking it a little bit.
Maybe a penny.
Give me a Benny.
Oh, that's right.
I swear by the light of the Maker that you will never want for anything, you little cute little scrap. Yeah,
Scrap.
You will stay with me forever, and I will love you more than you've ever been loved in your entire life.
You watch
I will
as
never let any harm or danger come to you, and I'll protect you forever.
You watch as Geek stop shaking in its little tiny scrappy form, and at that point you can realize it looks like it's made from a little bit of plaid material and a little bit of solid green material, and you can see its tiny little body has barely a little bit of stuffing with a little tiny squeak toy inside of it, so that when you pick it up and hug it, it actually makes a big long.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention I definitely hug it.
And as you squeak it, you notice that it indeed has a little tiny squeak toy inside of it.
I love my new baby.
And
Just then,
yeah,
Benji gets a great idea.
Yay!
I want to help my friend Beatrix convince this little felt guy to follow us. So, Benji then says to Beatrix, "Why don't you sing it a song? That usually does the trick. I'll spend a Benny to make sure that Beatrix is gonna sing this little Eek a song." Just the way that the legends say that the Maker used to do to all of his puppet creations.
Okay.
Take it away, Beatrix.
a song.
Sing a song. It's
The
singing time.
whole world knows. Here we go. Wait. Yes. Oh, sorry, Zach.
Take it again, Beatrix.
The whole world sees you as a scrap, but I look inside and I see so much more than that. I'm here to save you and love you forever. I'll call you baby and you can call me mother. Come with me, come with me. We'll save Puppetland, you and me, and together we'll follow our friends to the end and be back with Judy in time for the dance.
I think I have something caught in my eye.
That's beautiful, Beatrice. And as she listens to this song, suddenly Dancer remembers, I'm not Dancer.
What?
What?
I also had a family.
Oh.
I had a family once, but they're gone now. A family like yours, like all of you are. You're all a family. And I had one like you, but they're gone.
You're part of our family now, too. Right, Benji?
That's right. And we're a family. Us four, some other people, a baby.
We're one big fucked up family.
And as Dr. Faust,
Can I ask a question? What was that, Dancer, or was that your alpha character?
I'll explain that because I have a feeling I know, right?
Yeah.
So as Dr. Faust makes this decree upon the rest of the world, and to all Farmer Hat and Henrietta aside, there is this interesting tension between the three of you, that seems to penetrate deeper than that of which is Puppetland. In fact, that little tiny light that you saw in the void seems to be speaking now to you more eloquently and more directly than when it was just scared in the darkness, the way that it was before hopping into this world. You're in Puppetland now, but the dancer seems more familiar as that scared little light in the void than it was when you were hunting that witch hunter down. Does that make sense?
Oh, mm-hmm.
All right, then. Good. Happy to hear that.
Well, I mean, are you okay? Are you okay, dancer?
I'll be fine. I lost them and I'll never get them back. And I have to remember who they were. I'm sure I'll remember eventually.
Oh, you've forgotten them.
Yeah.
Dancer has this familiar image in her head of something. Is it Dancer's family or is it something more than that? No matter what, she does acknowledge the fact that this is a group that she is with now and that this is a safe place that she could, well, give this type of information to, but maybe not in the presence of Farmer Red Hat or Nestor the Horse or other denizens of Puppetland, which could be confused as to what really Dancer is, which is more than a puppet at this point.
Well, I'm gonna start. Beatrix von Fluffybo's gonna start her training and tell Geek to go give Dancer a hug.
Oh.
You watch as the little scrap scurries up the leg, hops up into the crook of Dancer's neck, and just
Thank you, Geek, and thank you, Beatrix.
it's actually really loud in your ear.
Thank you, Geek, and thank you, Beatrix.
Jeez, not so loud, Dancer. Jeez.
No, I'm terribly sorry. Guess we'll talk later. I'm sure I'll remember more.
Farmer Red Hat turns to Nestor and then back to you and goes, I'm sorry. Is this a bad time? Should we come back? Or
No. Let's go get your.
all right, because you look like you're ready to have a little private moment, and I don't want to become between friends and their new scrappy pets. Nestor and I,
What did you call Geek? What did you call Geek?
a pet.
Yeah, that is intolerable. That's never gonna happen again, is it?
Well-
Geek is my baby.
Oh well, I see that we have some definition problems here, but if Eek's your baby, it's your baby. Although I thought only the Maker brought life into the land of Puppetland.
My Geek was made from the Maker. Look at him. Yeah. So there you go.
It looks up to Farmer Red Hat, who looks down, and for the first time, you can see he's put off his guard and a little uncomfortable.
So we all agree Geek is my baby.
Yes, we all agree.
Yes, we all
wonderful.
absolutely.
Dr. Faust, do you have any more medication for
Yes, please
Beatrix?
come here. In fact, let me take some myself. There we go.
Good thinking.
Dr. Faust reaches into the saddlebags of Nestor Hayseed and pulls out more caramel popcorn
Yeah.
to hand out to
Yay.
everybody.
Yum.
And starts handing out medication to everybody in the party.
I stare at it and then it disappears. Bite, bite, bite. Yay.
Exactly.
Benji then just remembers why they cut through the candy cave and asks his friends, should we set up for an ambush? For spite?
Yes.
Let's do it.
In
Okay.
fact, Benji can actually hear the sounds of roaring and grumbling and stomping. Not terribly far away.
Do you guys hear that too?
Yeah.
Asks Benji.
He is coming.
That was really ominous and scary, Dr. Faust, says Benji. How should we set up for our ambush? Who wants to take point?
With the puppets being where they are at the mouth of the cave, and with Benji being a little clear on just how far away Spite would be at the moment, it's pretty clear that the actor puppets have enough time to potentially set up a well thought out ambush, but they'd have to act pretty quickly because Spite is on a path to make sure that Punch gets his button dinner the way that Punch wants it, which is fresh off of the puppets.
What's the plan, everybody?
All right. What is our... Dr. Faust looks around the mouth of the cave, looking to see for any sort of strategic advantage that they can use all 4 of our puppets plus the horse and the farmer. We're going to use everyone here.
As Dr. Faust looks around the mouth of the cave, he notices that the mouth of the cave looks out to the lake of milk and cookies. In fact, there is not a huge amount of land between the mouth of the cave leading into the lake side. Say about 2 nutcrackers worth or so, just as high as the cave possibly is. And in fact, there seems to be a reasonable incline on either side of the mouth of the cave that a puppet could, if it wanted to, climb up the side of the side of the hill to the top of the mouth of the cave.
Let me ask you this, with Dr. Faust's knowledge, what would happen if we threw him into the lake?
Ooh!
That's a great idea, Dr. Faust.
Material that could possibly...
Of course, we need to get the buttons first.
That's true.
Now,
Answer.
And then we dump them in the lake.
Dr. Faust thinks about what would happen to a flesh puppet if it were to be knocked into the lake of milk and cookies.
Benji thinks aloud. Maybe he would just be moisturized and feel better.
Yes. The things underneath... From what I recall, the flesh of these puppets is not perfectly sewn together.
That's
there are
true.
Pieces of felt, there are pieces of stuffing and patchwork flesh. So
Maybe the milk and cookies would find its way into the cracks and the folds of the flesh puppet.
yes.
And
start to-
unhinge him.
And then start to and Benji barfs.
It's gross to think about. I know.
Okay.
Let me hold your mustache back.
Yeah, hold my mustache. Hold my mustache.
There you go. There you go. Get it all out, buddy. Get it all out, buddy.
Hit my back. Hit my back real hard.
It's okay. Get it all out, buddy. Get it all out. There you go.
That's really good. That's really accurate with the marionettes.
I know. It's
Now, as Dr.
Very
Faust
good, yeah.
thinks about what would happen to a flesh puppet if it were knocked into the land of milk and cookies, he recalls that Spite's still a puppet, just like like every other puppet in Puppetland. It likes to eat candy. It likes to eat buttons too, but it's also just as attracted by candy, and there is a good chance that Spite might be distracted by a sweet treat, which the lake of milk and cookies has a plentiful amount of. At the same time, is the distraction of a giant cookie with milk attached to it more than the temptation to rip a puppet limb from limb for looking at it funny? That's a very difficult choice for Faust to make at this moment, but it is definitely an option.
I've got an idea, says Benji. Yeah. I'll take this opportunity with what little time we have left to use my very quick speed and run out into the middle of the road that we know that Spite's coming down, and I'm gonna start placing little pieces of candy on the way back to the mouth of the cave.
Sure.
You guys think of something else, some other way we can help in this ambush, and I'm just gonna go take care of that right now, says Benji, and off he goes. Oh, I'm gonna drop pieces of
Faust,
candy.
I do like your idea of climbing up on the top of the cave if we could push a boulder onto him or something like that. Either way, we could trap him under the boulder or push him right into that lake.
That's right. There are plenty of large rock crystals here that can be used as to crush him.
All right. just position ourselves at the top of the cave.
Wonderful.
Push. Try to find a large boulder to push upon him.
Doing great, Eek.
As the puppets climb up to the top of the mouth of the cave, they notice several large rocks that could potentially be jimmied or moved in a way that they could roll it around. But, isn't that a shame? They're so heavy, there's no way that even 2 puppets could pick one up.
But Dr. Faust remembers, inside his jacket, he also has some anabolic steroids that he can inject with a penny, of course, into to give him super strength to push a boulder over the mouth of the cave.
Also, we're not just 3 puppets. I might remind you, we are 4 puppets.
I was hoping you would catch on to that, but since anabolic steroids it is,
They work instantly too in Puppetland.
As Dr. Faust reaches into his little puppet pocket, he pulls out, well, what does that appear to be? It appears to be some steel wool. And with a small incision with his tiny little scalpel, he cuts open his own arm and shoves the steel wool deep inside of his arms, providing a rigidity and strength to it that normal puppet fluff would never be able to provide. That steel wool brings a certain amount of girth and strength to Faust, doubling his strength and able to lift that boulder with strained effort.
Oh, wow.
And isn't that interesting that a paper cup like that would be so heavy and filled with rock that it could be tumbled over the mouth of the cave like that?
Yes, that's very interesting.
Now, at this point, Fluffalibos can see Spite from the top of the mouth of the cave, and can see him stomping with an angry move and looking every once in a while at a tree or a piece of cookie that's sitting up on the beach of the lake and smashes it with one of his great fists.
He's coming.
And as
Do
he
we see Benji
I'm right here.
Oh, he's okay. Good.
Just ask.
Okay, great.
And Spite begins looking, Spite wanders closer to the mouth of the cave and then notices a piece of candy on the floor.
Shh. It's gonna work, everybody. My plan's gonna work, says Benji, whisperedly, hushedly.
Yes.
Spite sticks his head up and looks around to see if he can hear the noise of a puppet talking somewhere around this area before he bends down and grabs the peppermint candy and smashes it together, crumpling it into peppermint powder. Before he walks over, bends over and sees another one, and then picks it up and smashes it again, looking at it and goes, "Stupid candy. Candy Smite can't eat. Candy Smite can't eat must be destroyed." As he walks over to the next piece of candy, picks it up, smashing it again, leading right to the center of the mouth of the cave.
Is he in range?
Now, this is interesting because while Smite is not at the base of the mouth of the cave, he is somewhere in between the lakeside and the mouth. So with Faust, with a great force of will, could throw it, he may be able to hit him from here, but it would be a challenge.
Yeah.
Is there a penny available?
Try it.
Benji thinks to himself that this is a tough shot, and he's gonna try to help his friend, Dr. Faust, who's up there holding that rock. So Benji says to Dancer, I'm gonna run out and try to distract Spite and get him closer to the mouth of the cave.
You be careful, Benny.
You got it. What? Huh?
Then Benji, you be careful, Benji.
I should use a Benny? I'll use a Benny.
Yes, you be careful.
Benji will use a Benny to run out and become the best goddamn distraction you've ever fucking seen. Hey, Spite, I learned some new words, you piece of shit. Beatrix taught me a bunch of new words here in Puppetland. And you ought to kiss my ass, you big fuck. Get over here.
Spite turns over towards the finger puppet. That turns and goes, puppet, I will eat you, as he stumbles and stomps and runs towards the puppet and taking a hand tries to snatch Benji out of the way.
Too fast.
He's too fast.
No, don't.
Spite, being slow and bulky, is far too slow to be catching Benji the fast-footed right off his guard, putting him to right above the cave.
And Dr. Faust launches the boulder.
The boulder tumbles and tumbles down, and you watch as it spirals, the giant rock paper mache piece that it is, as Spite looks up and sees the rocket come towards him going, "Loop!" As it pins him right to the ground, and you watch as his hands splay to either side. You see 3 buttons clatter across the side of his arms as Spite grabs a hold of either side of the boulders, and you can see his perfectly painted smile with his rosy colored blush grimace as his face begins to tighten and pull as he takes both of his fleshy arms and
Benji, grab the buttons!
pull shit up as much as he can.
Hurry, Benji!
Eek, help him.
I got it.
Eek and Benji run out into the mouth of the cave and scramble to pick up the 3 buttons, while Nestor Hayseed, in his excitement, comes out and attempts to kick Spite in the face. And he gallops up and with a single horse hoof, clack, kicks Smite along the side of the face before running off, grabbing both Benji and Eek in its haunches as it runs off south back towards Respite. As the 4 puppets look behind you, running away from the scene in front of you, you see Spite take both of its hands into the boulder and lift it up ever so slightly.
More boulders! More boulders! Come on, everybody!
As it tilts its head up and yells at the puppets and goes, what would Spite say in the circumstances? Lifting the boulder and goes, I hate you! I hate you, puppets! As it shoves the boulder off of its body. But by then, the 4 actor puppets are long gone and out of there.
Yeah.
As the actor puppets return to the city of Respite, they can see a celebration seems to be in order. And in fact, it's the first time Farmer Red Hat can see with both eyes, as Dr. Faust has eloquently and with surgical precision installed both Nestor Hayseed and Farmer Red Hat's eyes back to their proper place.
Do I have my spare eye back?
And yes, and Fluffily Bows has her spare button that she keeps inside of her pocket at all times, just for such an occasion. As the actor puppets get closer and closer to the town of Respite, they can see that a maypole has been erected in a celebration, and they can see that tiny little felt stars and balloons filled with tons of confetti have been blown up and are now decorating all of the town of Respite. As you watch as Farmer Red Hat gets closer and closer to the city, he turns to you all and goes, I can't begin to tell you how thankful I am that you gave me the eyes that I needed in order to make my Henrietta Penny the girl that I'm going to dance with tonight.
Oh, that was real cute, says Benji.
Now, if you don't mind, I'm gonna go find my dancing partner as they seem to be setting up for the dance.
Bye now.
And you can see at that moment, as Farmer Red Hat is beginning to, that's fair. As Farmer Red Hat walks off into the distance, you can see him walking towards Henrietta Petty's house, as you can see the rest of the puppets of Respite are setting up for the dance.
Yay.
I guess we should join the celebration, says Benji to the rest of his puppet pals.
And I already have a dancing partner.
Who? Asks Benji.
Why, it's Dancer, cries out Beatrix von Fluffily Bows.
Wow.
It would be my honor.
I've got 2 left feet, but... So we know who's getting
Actually,
the better end of this.
You have no feet.
Oh, well, poop.
That's a good one, Dr. Faust. Hey, since they've paired up, I guess that both of us should be each other's dance partner. What do you say, Doc?
Let's river dance.
You know that I'm a hugger. Get over here, Dr. Faust.
Now, as Dr. Faust and Benji hug it out, the 2 other puppets and all the rest of Puppetland get together in order to celebrate the dance of the celebration of the town of Respite. And as the puppets look over, they can actually see Farmer Red Hat cautiously and anxiously waiting for Henrietta Petty, who, after a brief moment, sees that she walks into the dance circle with Foppity Fredsworth sulking with rubbing his solitary cheek, the big red mark over it.
He got slapped.
As Henrietta Petty opens her arms up, Farmer Red Hat grabs him by the crook of the neck, and you all begin to dance a merry, merry dance.
Yay.
And that is the end of this chapter of Puppetland. What new adventure will our puppets go into next week?
What's the name of the next chapter?
Punch Throws a Parade. Thank you for tuning in this week. There's going to be more Puppetland adventures soon. Make sure to tune in. If you enjoyed our little puppet adventures and this kind of interesting layout we did, please let us know. Use ForeverVerse as a hashtag so that we can hear you. But yeah, thank you guys. That was fun.
It was fun.
That was fun. And thanks again to our puppet maker Jonesy for
Thanks,
making
Jonesy.
cool
Thank you,
puppets.
Are we in
Jonesy.
Puppetland next week? Or
We are in puppet. Well,
Or in 2 weeks.
in 2 weeks. We may be a little break while Ivan prepares for International Tabletop Day, which is coming April 29th. Next week is a big week for preparation, so I may be taking a brief little break before we hop back into Puppetland, even though I'm so excited. I want to do Punch Throws a Parade so bad. So next week, tune in. There'll still be more adventures, but it depending on how Sax holds it or not, it may still be Puppetland. It may be a little one-off. We'll see. But you won't know unless you tune in. So see you then, everybody.
Yay!
Thanks.
Bye.